Now, we're talking in units per second. So game units per second, the longbow sits at 30,500 units per second compared to the triple take at 32,000. Those are big numbers. Really, the difference is only 5%.
Oh no, there's another squad attacking.
Let's keep it rolling and just dive right into the big topic of the day, longbow versus triple take directly.
Yep, this is the main event. This
Mhm.
is what we thought it would come down to. We see this as a clash between power and versatility. Which strengths fall to each weapon, and which one reigns supreme? Is the question.
Mhm.
The longbow was overly strong last season and has settled a bit since as still a very strong option
Mhm.
alongside the powerful return of the triple take. So, which should be your go-to and why is something
Mhm.
that we're going to also try to explore.
For sure.
But diving right into it as we always do, the numbers, the full breakdown. We're going to look at a variety of things across these two weapons. And the first kind of section is going to be focused on the damage potential. And we're going to be looking at the magazine size, the damage to the body, headshot, time to kill, the accuracy requirement, the rate of fire, as well as the projectile speed. And this is all kind of just based around what can it do, what's the
Mhm.
actual performance in tangible matters. We'll kick it off with a longbow. So, first off, it has a maximum magazine capacity of 12, and it starts off at 6. That's really strong.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
compare that directly with the triple take. Triple take starts at 6, just like the longbow, but it caps out at 9.
Less of a peak. Mhm.
And this is something that maybe some astute listeners are like, what are you talking about, Henry? The triple take does not have 9 shots, it has 27.
I
Well,
wish.
it's pretty complicated. Now that they added the whole it takes 3 ammo for 1 shot because of the 3-shot spread, the numbers on screen are a little bit confusing, but for our purposes, we're just going to think about the magazine in terms of what can you actually do.
Mhm.
But it's something we will not forget about and we'll talk about in terms of how does that affect the strength of the weapon as the ammo
Mhm.
consumption.
Mhm.
But yeah, that first thing is the magazine, and that plays into that accuracy requirement. And this is one of the most exciting things I think about this comparison because in order to knock somebody with purple armor, each of these weapons require you to have a 33% accuracy
Mhm.
percentage. But they achieve that number in different ways. The longbow, you have to hit 4 shots to the body out of 12, and the triple take, you have to hit 3 shots to the body out of 9. So, right off the bat, we're kind of faced with that question of is it the same or is it different? Which one is easier?
Mhm.
You have more shots to shoot, but you have
Mhm.
to hit more, or you have less shots, but you have to hit less shots. How does that really shake down? We'll talk about it.
Mhm.
But the damage. This is, I think, probably what most people care about. Longbow, shot to the body is 55.
Mhm.
If you hit all 3, they're not pellets. Not really sure the proper vocabulary, but if you hit all 3 shot spreads,
Laser beams.
it's tough. They don't give me a lot of good information on this. If you know what these are called, let us know. But if you hit all 3, you're fully choked up.
Mhm.
You can hit 69 with the triple take. Now, we've talked about this a little bit in the past, the damage potential. If you hit every single shot in the magazine to the body, what can this weapon actually
Mhm.
do? This is more of a firing range stat than anything. It's just what's the raw numbers of this weapon?
Mhm.
And both of them come really, really close. Even though there's a big difference between 55 and 69, damage potential based off the magazine size is pretty similar. The
Mhm.
longbow takes the cake at slightly higher at 660 damage potential, and the triple take falls at 621.
That's really important because I don't miss. So
Yeah, Shay doesn't miss, so he's definitely going to favor the
I
longbow on
base
this
everything
side.
off that number. Like
Yeah, it's just kind of a good idea to look at because it shows you, okay, is this weapon balanced? Is it giving you the proper
Mhm.
opportunities combined with the damage potential?
Well,
And
and
here
it
you can see they're really neck and neck.
It's when you see those huge distributions between the two as well. Like 660 and 621, like you said, neck and neck. They're right there with one another. But when you start like comparing your LMGs and your ARs and stuff, and you see these
Yeah.
really big gaps, that's when you start to see, okay, maybe that is a strength versus a weakness of one gun versus another. So it's neck and neck here, but it's a nice overarching one to look at for sure, in all seriousness.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Next, that headshot. This is something that we don't really talk about a whole lot, but
Yeah.
since these are kind of marksman snipers, they do pack a huge punch, have to highlight them. Longbow, headshot multiplier is 2.15. Recently, the triple take was dropped down in order to fall in line with the marksmans to have a multiplier of 1.75. Now, the actual headshot damage for both of these is practically identical. Longbow sits at 118 and the triple take sits at 120. This one is interesting
Mm-hmm.
because, yes, the headshot is essentially the same. You do have to hit all three shots on that triple take.
Mm-hmm.
Actually achieving that, a little bit hard. This is a lot of the intangible about the triple take, and is probably where this conversation is going to end when we compare the two. Is what is that choke? Is it a strength or a weakness? And with the
Mm-hmm.
headshot, well, it's going to be hard to hit like consecutive headshots or something like that. A lot more hard than achieving that with the longbow.
I mean, we talk about it being a long range meta right now and talk about taking longer range fights. There are these situations where you will end up with one of these weapons in a medium to slightly closer range. And yes, it becomes a lot harder to use that choke to try and save up to hit these exact same
Yes.
numbers. And it's very much still in the realm of possibility that you can do so with the longbow. But like you said, there's good and bad with the choke that comes with
Yeah.
this spread. So, and let's finish up talking these numbers before we dive into that.
Yeah. I love that idea of the choke being kind of like maybe a thorn in your side, because when you are closing the gap on an enemy and you have to wait for the choke, you almost feel like you're getting choked up. It totally works. You feel like you have to hesitate and you can't take that shot. So it definitely is palpable in game, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is important to note. But alongside that idea of range, let's talk a little bit about the projectile speed. A lot of similarities here. I think more so than we were anticipating, and many would assume about the triple take being an energy weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Projectile speed is really honing in on that effective range, and it gives you an idea about what's the bullet drop going to look like once we start really stretching it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're talking in units per second. So, game units per second, a longbow sits at 30,500 units per second compared to the triple take at 32,000 units per second.
Mm-hmm.
Those are big numbers. Really, the difference is only 5%. The
Mm-hmm.
triple take being 5% faster. It's not huge. I think these are really, really easy to compare in terms of their effective ranges, to be honest. We'll talk more about what's achievable with the triple take in terms of tracking with that spread. But the next thing that I think is important is that time to kill. We're focusing in on the damage, what counts. We talked about damage potential.
Mm-hmm.
Time to kill is big. With the snipers, we usually don't talk about it very often because it's not really super important. You're using the snipers to deal damage, to level up your evo, to suppress
Mm-hmm.
enemies. You're
Mm-hmm.
not really going out and trying to get a squad wipe with the sentinel. Like,
Speak for yourself.
it's not really what everybody's trying to do, so I can't recommend it. But when we think about the time to kill, and this is against purple armored enemies with no fortified,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
only hitting body shots with these weapons, longbow sits at 2.8 seconds time to kill, and the triple take beats it out by quite a significant margin at 2.22 seconds. So we're
And
talking a lot.
yeah, and the reason we are mentioning it on top of what you already said is that this longbow, is the closest sniper we have to a marksman rifle in terms of that
Mhm.
fire rate. So the time to kill does become actually applicable versus some of the other snipers. I don't think we're going to be comparing the time to kill of the charge rifle to that of the triple take quite often, just because of the speed in which bullets are, fired in totality.
Yeah, it's totally true. And when you think about a more than half a second difference in time to
Hmm.
kill, that's pretty serious. And when you decrease the armor values, that is
Yeah.
only, quickened. So this is kind of what you're going to be using the snipers for the most, and the triple take really is shining here.
Well, talk to me about the choke. Like
Yeah.
let's get into it a little bit, I think. Like that's kind of something
This
important here.
is the really spicy stuff because when we compare the weapons, they have identical fire rates. You
Yeah.
can shoot them at the
That's
exact same
crazy.
speed,
Mhm.
exactly the same. And so that's why it's such a beautiful, harmonious comparison.
Mhm.
However, that choke is, I think, what might make the difference here. It takes approximately 20 seconds to shoot 9 fully choked shots.
Which is a full clip
Yep.
reminder just in case anyone forgot.
That's pretty dang slow. It's over 2 seconds per shot. That takes a lot of time. If you think about 20 seconds in Apex, that's 2 Phoenix kits, you know? That's just an
I never
eternity.
get off 2 Phoenix
It's
kits.
just it's an eternity. So being able to actually do that in a fight,
Mhm.
choking up every single one, I don't know if it's gonna happen. And when we compare that to the longbow, it can fire off 9 shots much, much faster. When we think
Mhm.
about the longbow emptying its entire clip of 12, that takes less than 9 seconds. So less than half the time it's going to take in order to put out more shots with the longbow.
Mhm.
Why does this matter? This matters because it makes us realistic about what the triple take can actually do. Is it going to be hitting for those 69 damage or is it going to be hitting for 23?
Mhm.
And I think you see that in that choke time.
Yeah. I mean, the choke time is such a big deciding factor on this because hitting for 23, like you say it like that and I'm like, well, is hitting for 23 a good thing or a bad thing? Because I think you can make the
Mhm.
pitch either way with the triple take. While you miss out on those big hits, it's really easy to hit consecutive shots of 23, 23, 23. And when we start talking about a team fight, how many times have you used a triple take and someone's been one shot according to your teammates, and you're pretty confidently and easily able to land that shot because you got 3 chances at it pretty
Mhm.
much. So, like,
Yep.
there's good and bad that comes with that choke, and that's why it is such a fun comparison because I think the use cases are like, what do you prefer in a way when it comes down to it?
Yeah, when you're thinking about the ability to just fire more and have more opportunities to hit even 1 damage,
Mhm.
where the longbow, you don't have that nice little feature. If you miss, you miss. But with the
Mhm.
triple take, if you're a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, you're gonna do something rather than nothing,
Yeah.
which is undoubtedly a benefit. But I think it's something that's interesting to think about.
Boom! Whole squad down.
Hey, brother, not today. Maybe tomorrow.